Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for an episode of Building Leaders Connect, a podcast by youth about life in Chicago.
Hello, everybody. I, Eduardo Hernandez, will be your host today. Welcome back to another episode in our podcast. Today we will discuss how violence impacts people in our community and the statistics of homicides and victims. Here with me is our co-host, Gabriela Esquivel.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me as your co-host. My name is Gabriela, but Eduardo and my fellow peers call me Gabby. I'm excited to be here today because I want to educate others about the homicides, gang-related issues, and how the everyday community is negatively affected. I'm going to start off with a statistic on my own neighborhood, Back of the Yards. Back of the Yards has seen 27 shootings between January and March this year, a 107% jump over the 13 shootings that happened over the same period in 2015. I personally get scared to walk at nightfall or simply get scared for others' safety. Just recently, there has been an incident where Ladebelle Burnett, 23, was pronounced dead. The man had been on the street when a vehicle drove up and someone got out and fired at least one shot before driving off, police said.
I feel like shootings are simultaneous because the shootings of homicides happen almost day after day. There were reminders in 2017 that gang violence continues to rage in the city and take lives no matter what strategies police try to implement. In one suspected gang shooting in February, a 2-year-old boy was killed on the west side while riding in a car with his uncle. Interestingly enough, police believe the 26-year-old uncle, a gang member, was the intended target.
The department is also bringing on more officers, and they will be dispatched to some of the city's most violent areas. As a part of a 2-year hiring plan, Chicago added more than 1,100 officers in 2017. M. Johnson, one of the officers, expects the department's total number of sworn officers to increase in 2018 from the current 12,575,000 to 14,400.
Wow, that's a lot of policemen trying to keep us protected. However, it isn't necessary to have that many policemen protecting us. Instead, we can have law enforcement on violence and gangs.
That's true, but with this much homicides and gang-related issues, law enforcement might not help. What we can do is have police officers patrol other parts of the community and be careful.
That might be a better idea. To me, it's almost like we have lost the freedom to enjoy our lives and have fun because the violence is spreading fast and wide. Some factors that influence gang violence are drugs, aggressiveness, and superiority. Sometimes they want something really, really bad, and they would send someone to do whatever they can to get what they need. Sometimes they have to kill someone.
Another factor of influence is that people might not get enough care by their parents or close family friends. Due to the lack of affection, they create an insecure attachment with others. Once a child feels alienated by their peers, they turn to gangs for security and protection. We will continue after a short break.
Many kids can feel alienated by their peers or otherwise have trouble making friends. In addition, in some cities or neighborhoods, children may face immense peer pressure to join particular groups or gangs, sometimes in order to fit in or gain protection from bullies or other groups. So they decide to join a gang because the gang supposedly promises protection, care, and affection.
At least 9 people were killed and 45 others were wounded over the weekends in shooting. An ugly turn for the nation's third largest city as it made progress stemming the murder rate in the first half of 2018. So personally, where I live back at the yards, sadly I've seen some kids actually getting recruited by gangs from a very short age. For example, there was this kid. He was like, I want to say in 7th grade, and he was already hanging out with all these like gangbangers, saying that, oh, my parents don't really care about me, so like they told me that they were gonna care for me, they were gonna have this much respect for me. And honestly, I think that's crazy, how like the 7th grader is already planning to join a gang.
There is also an alternative form of gangs. Because since gangs are formed for protection, instead they could have normal friends. So they won't cause that much violence too.
So what do you think, for example, 7th graders should do instead of turning into gangs?
They should have a group of friends.
A group of friends?
Yes, because I am in an after-school program that there is a group of 7th graders and they're always together.
Right. Well, sometimes some communities don't have the enough resources for that. For example, where I live, I come all the way to Pilsen just because I don't want to be at home all day or having to be outside. Or maybe we could also introduce them into programs so they could stay out of the streets and start looking for friends outside of just having gang friends.
I have a group of friends that it's 2 other people, but most of the time I'm helping either one or the other because they're experiencing some things that they haven't, and I personally don't know much about it, but I know enough that I can help them.
I think you could help out a friend by having them maybe meet your family. If your family is like really close and having that connection, maybe bringing them into your family helps them get that love that they want, or maybe that affection that they're supposed to get from gangs by joining them. So I think, yeah, it's a good idea to introduce them to your parents, get to know them, so like that they could have like a second home, or instead of being outside in the streets. I remember when I was younger, I would see there was like a specific day in the spring where like the gangbangers would like clean up the community. So I don't know if it was like community service or something, but they all would get together and start like cleaning up the community. So I guess it was kind of like, oh, we're doing something bad, but we want to do something good at the same time. So I think having more community I don't know how to say it, community
projects.
Yeah, more community projects could be good for gangs, for people in general, for kids as well. It could be a very good thing because they're gonna be helping around the community.
I think if gang members start at around the teenage, then maybe instead of causing violence or influencing violence, they could try out for sports.
As a way of also releasing anger, if they have some kind of anger, yeah, they could do sports, they could do martial arts. There's a lot of things you could do other than just being in a gang for a certain reason.
They could also meditate.
Meditate, yeah. That's also a good idea. Having more cops out in the street could maybe intimidate gangs, and maybe I don't know how to put it in words. Like they could maybe back off a little and start maybe working on their own thing, and yeah.
I think that the police Chicago department adding more officers is okay, because if we have too many officers, then we'll feel like we're not able to do the things that we used to do. and it'll feel like we're not safe, even though the officers are helping us.
Well, being in Gads Hills is honestly really life-changing, I want to say, because all the people here are around the same age. So everybody has like different experiences, and like for example, Isamar, I don't know, she's very good at giving advice. So if we ever have like trouble with something, she's like, oh, you should do this instead of being over here. And I feel like we could all help each other instead of just turning into a gang and saying, oh, I need help with this. Instead, they turn you into the wrong path instead of the good path.
Gads Hill is a fun place to be at because, like Abby said, everyone is around the same age, so there isn't much of an awkward feeling. And they do have a lot of activities to do.
Yeah, they have a lot of outside activities, inside real world activities. There's a lot of cool activities that they do.
Thank you for listening today to our podcast. Please visit gadshillcenter.org for more information about Building Leaders Connect and to find out how you can support our programs. Special thanks to Beatrice, Eduardo, Gabby, Uriel, and the staff at Gads Hill Center for working on this podcast. I'm Chris, and this is Building Leaders Connect.